2024 GR Corolla Core, but with all the goodies, including the performance package, versus a 2016 VA WRX STI. If you're in the market for a fun rally-inspired car, do you go with the tried and true, the STI that has the heritage, that has the history, or do you go with a Toyota GR Corolla Core? Both have turbocharged engines, 4-cylinder, 3-cylinder, both are all-wheel drive, both have 6-speed manual transmissions, and both weigh a little bit over 3,000 pounds, 3,400 pounds here, and 3,300 pounds for the GR Corolla. Both also don't have the most upscale of interiors. You gotta remember, this is ultimately a Corolla at the end of the day. Very simple interior space, not nearly as much space in the rear. It's a smaller vehicle than the WRX STI. We're powered by a 1.6-liter 3-cylinder turbocharged engine, making 300 horsepower, 273 pound-feet of torque. And we have this clutch-based center coupling that allows us to split the torque from front to rear. And with the performance package, we also get an LSD in the front and in the rear. Very important to have that. So here we are in 30-70, which is 30% torque to the front, 70 to the rear. And I'm going to turn off the IMT, which is the automatic rev match, as well as traction off. And we're going to go into sport mode. That's going to change the dial for us and change the throttle response a little bit as well. Now you got to remember, out of the 3 GR sports cars, the Supra, GR86, and this actually has the longest wheelbase. I love how also in sport mode we get higher resolution at the higher rev range. And with that longer wheelbase, we get a lot more stability here. That was a big part of the tuning philosophy when the Toyota GR team was working on this car. And you feel that. This car definitely inspires a lot of confidence. A little bit of rev hang though. Now with the 30-70 torque split, you're still not really getting much throttle-induced rotation. My understanding is that the system isn't going to be full-time 30-70. It's only when it detects slip and when you need it. And with the clutch-based system, one of the limitations is that on track it tends to overheat. Very much a rally car feel to the vehicle. A good amount of turbo lag. Not too much by any means. I think it fits the character of the car. It's very congruent. And you get all your turbocharged noises as well. Get your PSI readout right here. Quite a bit of rev hang. You have to wait for the revs to drop. And these are known for having delicate clutches, so also not trying to be too harsh. No launches. Very upright seating posture, as you'd expect, again, with the Corolla roots. And the transmission here in this 2024 feels better than I remember. We have driven a few GR Corollas on the channel, and this actually feels a little bit smoother than what I recall. Let's go into 50-50. Actually, not yet. Let's do it after this. McPherson strut front suspension. That is the radar detector. don't know how to silence that. There we go. With a turbocharged engine like this, you do have to give it a little bit more throttle for your rev matches, and it's not always consistent throughout the rev range. Now let's go into track mode, which is 50-50 torque split front to rear. I realize now that I set traction off but then changed modes to sport, so traction's been on this whole time. Not the best ergonomics for heel toe. There is quite a bit of a learning curve. I'm gonna go back to 3070. Dude, this thing is just so stable. It inspires so much confidence. You can just mob on these roads knowing that the car's got your back. You really need to do something incredibly stupid to get in trouble with a car like this. And I think that's actually part of the issue with the GR Corolla, which is that it has the rally-inspired feel, it has stability, it has certainly character that you want from a car like this, but I think for some people it's not going to have enough drama or excitement. The 3-cylinder engine is actually characterful, which I'm going to show you right now. I have to remind myself constantly to wait to re-engage the clutch to let the revs drop. I mean, sure, I do wish that it was a little bit louder inside the cabin. Want to hear more of the engine. But the main issue I have with the car is that it's just so stable that even when you're pushing the car harder, it doesn't want to step out at all, even in the 30-70 torque split. And that reason alone is going to largely differentiate who goes with this versus a different vehicle. If you want that stability, if you want that confidence, this has that in droves. But if you want a really engaging razor edge experience, the manual transmission is totally fine to use. Sure, the throttle response is a little bit muted. The steering is also quite a bit muted. Not much feel through it. Although it is accurate, it's very congruent. The whole car feels cohesive, and I do appreciate that. But let's see if that WRX STI is any more fun. The 2016 Subaru WRX STI is powered by a turbocharged flat 4 2.5 liter, making 305 horsepower, 290 pound-feet of torque, weighing in right around 3,400 pounds. Definitely a substantially larger car than the GR Corolla, but only 100 pounds heavier. This also has an adjustable center diff, just like in the GR Corolla. The default for this, though, is 41% front, 59% rear, whereas in the GR Corolla, it's 60% front and 40% rear. And all STIs come standard with front and rear LSDs. In terms of mods, we have KW V3 Coilovers set up for a comfortable, softer ride, DBA Rotors, endless brake lines and MX72 plus pads, STI S209 Chassis stiffening braces, and we have Continental Extreme Contact Sporto 2 tires. Now, as soon as you sit in the interior, it also feels very much rally car. You're going to be sitting more upright, but I'm finding myself having a slightly sportier position than in the GR Corolla. I think because the steering wheel telescopes out further, I can sit lower and angle my seat back a little bit, but still very much upright compared to sports cars. Now, this is the OEM short shift kit, but the owner has angled it back. He says, hey, I have short arms, so the whole thing is angled back. This is neutral. As you can see here, it's pointing quite a bit back towards us. And here's where we control the center diff and the various drive modes. So we're going to go into Sport Plus, and you can see the throttle response there. This is the most aggressive, Sport, and then you press down. That is the intelligent drive. So here we're in Sport Sharp. We're gonna go to manual and get the center diff all the way back, power to the rear. And we hold this, that's track mode, keep holding it, and now traction is off. That Subi rumble, I do love the noise that Subarus make with those unequal length headers. Instantly you feel that the steering here has so much more feedback than in the GR Corolla, but it has this unusual weighting. So right here it's kind of heavy, and then you turn it more and now it's light all of a sudden. Heavy, light. It's a very unnatural progressive weighting where it weightens up and lightens up unnaturally, although you do get much more texture from the road. We also do not have the issue of having so much rev hang like in the GR Corolla. But man, a lot more body roll here. These KW V3s are quite a bit softer than the setup we have in the GR Corolla. I feel the body really move around a lot and it takes a moment to set in these corners. Oh yeah, so much more feedback through the wheel though. Even as you go over these bumps, you'll feel it transmit all that information. Now my understanding is that the clutch-based center coupling in the GR Corolla is more prone to overheating. Whereas here with the center diff, you don't have the same issue. Give you a pull here. Red line right around 6,600 RPM. Both this and the GR Corolla have the very classic turbocharged engine character, a lot of torque down low. You get closer to red line, not going to pull quite as hard. But here, it's so much more natural to heel-toe rev match. I think part of that is the pedal placement. I think part of that is the throttle response. Actually, when I first got in the car, I thought that it had auto rev match enabled because there is no learning curve. It just feels so much more natural, whereas in the GR Corolla, definitely did not feel the same. bit of rotation on throttle here, very small amount. Still a very stable car, although slightly more playful than the GR Corolla. The front end here also feels a bit sharper, even though it has softer suspension. It feels slightly more precise, slightly more responsive. I have driven other WRX and STI examples, and I've always been impressed by the front end. Here, it's not quite to the same degree, and the main reason there being the KW V3 coilovers that are set up for comfort more so than sportiness. Even heel toe rev matching is just so natural in this car. And I wonder if that's part of that reason is because the STI has been around for so many years that they can dial in all these little details, pedal placement, throttle response, how the front end feels, all these things. Whereas the GR Corolla is in its first generation, and perhaps they haven't had the same amount of time to refine things. Both cars have McPherson strut front suspension, but because of how they're set up, they still feel pretty neutral. We did elicit a little bit more understeer in that GR Corolla on some of those lower speed corners at entry, but both of these cars are set up quite well. Let's give you a little pull. Now, if it was my money, I think they're both great choices if you want that rally-inspired feel. But the WRX STI feels a little bit more fun and a little bit more special to me. An older model here like this too, you're gonna get cheaper than a brand new GR Corolla. And while this suspension is a little bit too soft, a little bit too comfort focused, I think with a stiffer suspension setup, this would be the more fun car to drive. Overall, still better steering, even with that unnatural weighting. That's just probably something you need to, I don't know, get used to, or maybe there's some kind of mods you can do to improve that. The other STIs I've driven don't have that same issue. This thing also has a bit of a learning curve, but you can have yours standard, straight up and down. But I mean, overall, this VA STI, a bit larger, a little bit more fun, I would say, than the GR Corolla. If you get a VB, you can only get the WRX. There is no STI for the VB generation. And we have reviewed a VB WRX previously on the channel, link in the description. But my friends, which one would you choose? A VA STI, GR Corolla? Let me know with a comment down below. Big thanks to Fenton's son from the Zygreen YouTube channel for making this review possible. Big thanks to the owners for letting me review their cars. And if you want your car reviewed, visit us on jabalandcars.com. Fill out the form on the homepage. Much love, my friends, and I'll see you all in that next one.